Okay, I believe I'm recording now. That was a pleasant little wait there while that thing restarted, but now I have restarted my computer and I'm ready now to, let's see, I want to share my desktop. So share. Okay, minimize that. And I'm not going to be using the thumbnail. The next file we will be interested in is the SSMS setup. Right away, what I want to do, though, is I want to go to Canvas and point out where you can find the instructions here. Let's see, that'll be Mozilla, I believe. There. So I hope this is compatible with Canvas. And Canvas. Really doesn't matter. Both of these should be the same. I'm going to go to the modules. And let's see, I have orientation here. I'm going to go to, I'm in module 2 right now. Download and install SQL Server. Okay, you can get local copies from me. If you don't get them from me, you'll need to download them. Here is your link to download the Express edition. Okay. Now, we have at this point restarted, so we are at the end of the install process. There weren't many things that we had to do there. Let me look through this. Okay. Now we're about to install the SSMS. If you have it, it's a little bit easier than downloading it. So I'm going to, since we have it, I'm going to go ahead and use the one we have, SSMS setup, and I'll double click that. And then I'll tell you what we're doing. So we have 2 files to install. The first one that we installed, the SQL Server 2016, was the database server. The second one we're installing, which is actually a little bit larger, is what we call the Management Studio, the Server Management Studio. And so the first one is like the engine of your car, and the second one is like all of the controls, the steering wheel, the gear shift lever, and the headlights, and all that other stuff. So this one is important. It's important that you have both of them. An engine by itself isn't particularly useful. The Management Studio does not have to be installed on the same machine as the engine. So the engine is what does the database work, and the Management Studio is what shows it to you and lets you program in SQL. Okay, let's get on to it. There won't be a whole lot to do here. Click the, what's that? It's in a file up here called SQL class. You see it right there? Open that. And that's, yeah, it's the second one there. So I'm going to click install. And again, we will get to wait while it installs. Okay, so I'm going to turn my talking head on and move up here. Let's see, but a couple of questions came up while we were restarting. Anybody remember what they were? And I said I didn't want to take them because of the, I wanted to make it available for the online people. Didn't you have a question? What were we talking about? Somebody asked. The lab session, yes. This class, I will typically complete the lecture by noon or shortly thereafter. I might go a little over right at first. Then we'll take a break. And then I will be available on for office time. You do not have to remain in class. Of course, you don't have to remain in class. Some of you are here, some of you who are physically present here are in the online section, and that's fine. So if you leave at noon, you leave at noon. That's perfectly okay. I will try to go to a chat session. So after I take a break, I can only talk for about 2 hours. After I take a break, I'll probably turn my computer on to chat. I don't know how to do that yet. I'm learning Zoom here as I go. So we'll figure that out. But if you want to chat, you will need to download the Zoom client. So go to Google Zoom, Z-O-O-M, and it's not a very big program. It's free, and that will let you chat. You do not need Zoom to see the videos. They'll be linked on Canvas to YouTube. Was there another question? A couple of things I said about classroom stuff. Okay. While that runs, we can see it running in the background. This point, there any questions? We've talked about SQL Server. SQL Server is the big brother of Access. So those of you who have taken an Access class will see that SQL Server, what you saw in Access, you will also see in SQL Server. You'll make the same kind of decisions. SQL Server has an interface that is like Access, where you just drive your little mousey around and click on your mouse and click on your mouse and type in what you want. Guess what? We're not going to use that. This class is about SQL. And SQL Server using SQL is a different creature, so we're going to be using the programming language. Even though we do have all of these wonderful graphical tools that just, display our tables, we're going to use them when we want to use them to see a result happen. So we do something in SQL, and then I want to go over and see what happened. We might use those graphical tools, and you might think, oh, this is just like Access. It's really a lot different, because Access does not have a real usable SQL interface. Did anyone's class try to use it in Access? Access speaks SQL. It's just not real easy to get to, and it is kind of a strange dialect. So when you say it doesn't really quite speak SQL. This is full-blown SQL. There are other databases, other SQL-based databases. Oracle is probably the biggest piece of it. The next class after this one, I intend to teach in Oracle. I will probably be the teacher for the next class. It will probably be face-to-face class, at least the first time, and I expect it to be offered next semester. So if you have that class, it is ITSE 2347, Advanced Database Programming. Therein we will be using Oracle. But SQL is SQL. And we're still installing over there. Okay, I'm going to talk a little bit more about SQL Server. SQL Server, I mentioned that you have the server engine. Now, the server engine runs on a computer. The server management studio, think of that as the client. So you have a client and a server. The server management studio allows people to interact with the server. They do not have to be sitting at the same machine that the server's on. We will be, but we might demonstrate otherwise that I can sit on my machine and interact with the server on your machine just fine. And we might do some of that. If you have given me the privilege to do that. There are two ways to log into an SQL server. First one is what we call Windows authentication. This is the default. This says that if you are the Windows user, particularly the Windows user who installed it, in other words, you are the Windows user who owns that instance of SQL Server. Then if you're logged into Windows, you are logged into the server. Okay. Otherwise, there is another way to do it. That's called SQL Server authentication. And that says you have to provide a username and a password that is set up on the server. Okay? Different from Windows. So I can log off of that Windows account, log on as someone else. Now I can no longer access the server with Windows authentication because I'm a different Windows user. Okay. Now I can still access the server, but I have to use server authentication. And we're going to see that pop up, go by us here in just a minute. Okay. The other point about a server, I think I was telling you this a little earlier. I mentioned that a server drinks your computer's resources. It is a good practice when you are done using your SQL server to turn the darn thing off. If all you do is just hit the little X on the interface on the management studio, the server engine continues to run. So it's a little bit like leaving your car outside in the driveway idling all night, because in the morning you don't feel like taking the trouble to put the key in and start it. Would you do that? Anybody see the price of gasoline this morning? Isn't that fun? Okay. So I'm going to talk about that now. This is not mentioned in the textbook. This is a good idea on your home computer. Here, hey, these computers, let them do a little bit of work. All they do is sit around all day watching Judge Judy on the TCP/IP connection. You guys know about Judge Judy, right? It's a television program. But let these work. These don't do anything except our class. So it doesn't hurt to leave them running here. It doesn't hurt anything. In the open lab, they leave them running. I'm suggesting that they shut them down. And are we? No, not quite finished yet, but we're still going at it. We're going to have to do what we call bounce the server here in just a second. So I'm going to show you how to stop the server and restart the server. Don't lose my microphone. I think we're done, so I'm going to go over here back to the console. Do what? No, it's going to restart the computer. I don't think it does. Okay, I guess we should have just restarted once. Okay, I guess I'm going to have to restart again. Well, this time, damn. I'm just going to close it and see if it works. Let's see if it shows as installed. Okay, I'm showing it as installed, so I'm going to take a chancita here and see if I can proceed without a restart. Yours at home, you should probably go ahead and restart it this time. I'm not going to. So the thing I'm looking for here, it's under Microsoft SQL Server Tools 17. And if I drill down into that, I find the Microsoft SQL Server Management Studio. You should right-click that and send it to your desktop as a shortcut. We will be using that every time. So I would definitely let's see, send. Can I make, in this version, can't I make that? Right click and pin to the taskbar. More? Pin to taskbar. Okay. So I guess I could drag it out there or something. Anyway, make it easy to get to that, okay? Because that's going to be our tool that we're going to use a lot. Let me close this guy down. And let's find out if he works. Might tell me, hey, you got to restart. It looks like everything's going to work for us this point. Okay. So this is the interface coming up. The database, I believe, is already running. And so this is our interface. And everything takes a few minutes. That's why database is incompatible with deep freeze. And we run some of our machines here on deep freeze. If you go into the open lab, it is on deep freeze. And running database on deep freeze, it's like, I don't know. Okay, here we are at the login screen. Let's look at the login screen. Server type is database engine. Notice the server name of SQL Express. It is quite possible to have more than one server on a machine. We will only have one. If you do another install, if you install a different version, you will have two different servers. Ours is named SQL Express. The authentication we're going to use is Windows authentication right now. Okay. That means that we own the database, so we are a recognized user of the database. If I come in as a different user, I won't be able to authenticate on Windows. So if I say connect, I am connected to the database. And I see that over here, that I have various options. I guess I should point with my mouse. Over here in the panel, I have various options. I can see databases, security, server objects, and all of this, okay? Questions? Are we on the same sheet of music? Good, I didn't have to restart. I recommend if you're doing it at home, go ahead and restart. We just took a chance, and I don't know whether some of the other options might not be fully functional. We're going to have to restart the server here in just a moment. Okay, I'm going to right-click the top where it says SQL Express. Let's see. Excuse me. How we do it? Security. Let me see. I put it here in the notes. I'm going back to Canvas. I'm going to read my notes because this is a new feature. No, I'm not going to restart it yet. I need to enable something. Other options, click connect. I right-click the server and select properties. Immediately to the right is a group called server authentication. So let me go practice what I preach there. I'm going to right-click properties. Security. Okay, under security. So under the properties, security, I think I could have gotten to that just from security. Let me try that. I think if I just click security, no, I have to right-click and go to properties and then the security tab. What I wanted to get to was server authentication. Okay, you see this top panel right here. Now, the way I got there, I right-clicked the server. Let me go back into it one more time. I right-clicked the server. I went to Properties, Security. Okay. The top panel has two options. One of them says Windows Authentication Mode. That means that in order to connect to this database, you must be a Windows user. This is how we got in there the first time. We're the owner. We're the Windows user. Now I'm going to open it up and let people connect remotely. So we're going to be using SQL Server. So this means that you'll be a user of the server, but you don't have to be a Windows user. I don't know how you'd get here if you weren't, but you'll be able to come in from another machine in, oh, I don't know, St. John's, Newfoundland. Any place, as long as you have TCP/IP connectivity. So I'm going to change this to SQL Server and Windows Authentication. In other words, if you're the Windows user who owns it, you can log in from the machine. And then I'm going to take this machine, I'm going to lock it in a room with a steel door and guards and guns and gates, and I'm not going to let anybody get in. So now the only way to get in is to be a user of this machine, of the database. When I say okay, now it says SQL Server is restarted. I have to restart SQL Server. That's not the same thing as restarting the machine. Okay? Now, to restart the server, so I told you we're going to talk about shutting down the server and starting the server. I told you that shutting down the server is a good idea. It's like turning off your car at night when you park it. You don't want to leave it running. It's drinking gasoline. The same thing is true of this server. Now, let me show you how to turn it off. Okay, right-click and select Stop. Oh, somebody is trying to communicate with me. See if it's my wife or my mother. Stephen Smith. Yes? Okay. I'm in class right now, so I'm going to have to hang up. I should have known. Don't answer it unless it's my wife or my mother. Stop. If I stop it, it's saying, are you sure you want to stop it? I'm going to say yes, and it will stop. Okay. I could have selected restart. Yes, somebody pointed out restart is one option. Now, the database is stopped. I am still in the Object Explorer. So right now, if I right-clicked it, I would have an option that says Start. But it is stopped. I'm done. So I'm not going to close down the session, but I've closed him down. Now, I cannot restart him. Well, I can. If I exit and shut this thing down and go away for the night and go to sleep, come back tomorrow or the next day, and when I start it, I will not be connected. So when I restart this guy, I'm not going to, I will not have this option of start. It's nice if I do. I could leave this up. This thing isn't taking up a lot of my resources, so I can leave it going if I want to. But I'm probably going to shut it down. I'm probably going to go surf the web. Might do my email or something like that. And so this guy will be shut down. Now, in order to restart it, I have to go to my Windows Let's see. Windows Administrative Tools. You see it? Not accessories. Administrative Tools. Drop them down. I have to find my services. Where are they? Services. So I have to go into my administrative tools, services. It is okay to, you can make a shortcut to this. I have to scroll down until I find SQL Server. Notice that SQL Server, SQL Express, it is not running. It is stopped. Guess what I'm going to do? I'm going to right-click it. Right-click it and say Start. Okay. So I have restarted. Now I could have, somebody pointed out just a minute ago, why did you just go restart? Well, because I wanted to demonstrate this. This is how you have to start it. If you've stopped it and then gone away, shut down your computer, and then when you get back into it, you have to start it here. Are you with me? I have a video on this, by the way, on YouTube. That's what I talk about here if you forget how to do it. Now, one other thing. You're at home. You are at home. This is your computer, okay? Not ours. Here, don't do this. What you can do here while you're here is under the startup type, change the startup type to, let's see, go to properties, I guess. Startup type, I would change at home, I would change my startup type to manual. Now, it will keep running until you either stop it or restart your computer. It will not start automatically. You have to go start it. That's probably what you want at home. Have I lost everybody yet? What's that? You go to Windows Administrative Tools. Windows Administrative Tools, no, click Windows Administrative Tools, and then under that find Services. And then find SQL Server, SQL Express. It will have the name in it. And you should see that it is not running. Right-click it and click Start. Okay, and that starts it. And you right-click that, right-click the SQL Server Express, and under Properties, under Startup Type, change it from automatic to manual. If you want it to start every time your computer is restarted, then leave it on automatic. So that way, if you forget how to do it, if you stop it, then it stays stopped until your computer restarts, and then it will start automatically. It's up to you. That's a matter for your preference. That's just it'll make your computer perform a little bit better if you'll stop that darn thing. It is a drinker of resources. Okay. Now I'm going to cancel because I don't want to change mine, but I am now running. Let's see if notice that I'm back in connected mode. I've got a little green arrow there. I could have done restart on that just fine. If you want to do restart, that's fine. But it means restart the server. Restarting this guy, and I guess again I'll point with my mouse, restarting here does not restart the server. Closing this guy does not shut down the server. Okay. All you do is you shut down this window. Question. Anybody need it? What time am I? Oh, I can see it right here. 11:18. I'm going to go a little bit longer. I told you I would go till about noon. Okay. Other questions? Okay. Let us create a user. Right now, we are logged in as the Windows user. There's nothing wrong with this. And in fact, if you use the Open Lab, that will be your only option. But we prefer to work in this class. Most of the time you will be working, if you are a database administrator, most of the time you will be working as an SQL authenticated user. It gives you a little more versatility. I can log in from any place. So I don't have to be sitting at the physical machine. And this is handy. So I have to create a user of this database. Are you with me? So now I'm going to create a database user. So I'm going to go over here. I'm going to go to the Security tab, and I'm going to drop it down. I'm going to expand it with the plus. Which one do you think I'm going to choose? Logins. Okay. Now, these are built-in users. I am a user because I'm a Windows authenticated user, but I'm going to right-click the logins, right-click the top, and I'm going to say New Login. New Login. Okay. Let me get you. Don't go ahead of me here. Okay. Did you do the install on the database engine? Did you restart? It doesn't think you did. When you installed, did you log in as you? Okay, but you did log in as you here. Everything was up. I'm going to need to let me see what we've got here.
And one thing I did wrong, I clicked on custom.
Instead
of basic.
Let's see, that's under Microsoft. Microsoft. Doesn't look like you've gotten that installed. Let me check mine. This is a new version, and I can't necessarily just glance at this. Yeah, we should have SQL Server 2016. Do you have that one? I don't think the server has gotten installed. So let's close this. Yeah, we'll close this and let's try that. Let's try this one again. Okay. Okay. Everybody else on the same sheet? Other questions? All right. Oh, so let's see. Let me put my charms away here. Okay, right-click the logins, new login. Okay, the first thing is, well, the first thing obviously would be a login name, but the login type, let's do this first. The login type I'm going to set to SQL Server authentication. Now, remember when we logged in as Windows authentication, I did not use you're going to select the basic, right? Okay. We're going to log in with, here we're going to have a password, a username and a password. So once we have chosen SQL Server, now I have to give it a login name. Now, make your login name, please, be your first initials. If you have a non-English centric name, then a shortened form of your name is fine. It does not have to be your full name. We typically abbreviate our names. In the English version, I would say S.W. Smith. Other forms of the name may be different. Use what you are comfortable with and something that is fairly easy to type. You're going to be typing it a bunch of times. Okay. We will give it a password. Now, if you forget your password and you have access to the machine and you are able to log in as the Windows user where you installed it, there's nothing wrong to worry about. You just go back in here and change your password. But if you are not at this machine, you can't change it. Okay. So now I can change my password. I'm going to give it a solid password. It is good practice. What makes a strong password? One uppercase, at least one lowercase, at least one number, at least one symbol. And typically we say 3 out of 4 of those, but I always get them all. Another one is it should never appear, no form of it should appear in the dictionary. What is a dictionary attack? Yeah, they don't just go through the dictionary. If your password appears in the dictionary, what the attackers have done is to encrypt the dictionary, sort it by its encrypted value, and then they can look up your encryption in the dictionary and tell you exactly what your password is in about 3 seconds. So it's not just trying everything in the dictionary. It's you use an encrypted dictionary. So never a password that's in the dictionary. Or even might be. Okay, let's look at this. I'm going to uncheck enforce password expiration. I don't want it to expire. I'm gonna leave enforce password policy. Password policy is that you have to have a strong password, but I'm not going to make it expire. Okay. Questions? Okay, one more thing. Before I click OK, I'm going to go up here to server roles. Up to the server roles. Are you with me? No? Yes? Okay. This is going to be a highly privileged user. This is not going to be just a secretary person that gets to enter data or something like that. This user is going to be able to manipulate the database. So I'm going to make this person a sysadmin, system administrator. Now, they better get along with this guy because they can do you a lot of damage. That's okay. We can just reinstall. I'm going to make the one other thing. I'm going to make them be a database creator, DB creator. So I'm going to let this person create databases. And in just a minute, we will. Okay. Questions? Okay. Let's go back to the general page one more time. Now, let me talk a little bit about this. Up here on the page, it says default database. Default database down here is master. Master. Every SQL Server installation has a database called master, but you will not be allowed to write to that. So we need to create a database of our own. That means that I'm going to have to close this, say, okay, I've got a user. Now I will connect as that user and create my database, and I will own it. Am I making any sense at all? So I'm going to create a database. I have the database engine. Now I'm going to create the inside of that engine, I'm going to create a database. I can have 50 databases inside of that engine. Okay? So I don't have another default database, so I'm going to say OK. What have I done? I've given it a name, SQL Server Authentication. I've given it a password. I have unchecked enforced password expiration. Under server roles, I have given this user DB creator and sysadmin privileges. Okay. And here is my user. See him pop up there. I am now going to fold these guys down, and I can fold down the server. They're still there. I've just folded them down. Okay. Now I'm going to connect as SW Smith. You will connect as your user. Okay. When I say SW Smith, you're not SW Smith, I don't think. So I'm SW Smith. You are your own user. Now I'm going to say connect to database engine. I'm going to choose, instead of authentication, what will I choose? Server authentication. My login is SWSMITH, and my password is secret. Yeah, there you go. Yeah. And then server authentication. There you go. Now I'm going to say mine to remember the password. I probably wouldn't do that in the real world if I had a database. We're real fussy about that. Now, notice something here. I have 2 connections. That's okay. You can have 10. I am connected to this database as 2 different users. First of all, the administrative user, the Windows user. Second, I'm connected under the bottom one, I'm connected as SW Smith. So I have to remember which one of those I'm in. Now I can make this bigger. And notice I see that the top one says Colin \SW Smith. That is my Windows user. That's the domain user. Just plain SW Smith is the the database user. Okay. Under SW Smith, the one I just created, I'm going to open up the databases, and notice I don't have any databases right now, so I'm going to right-click the databases under my user. And I'm going to say, what do you think? New database. I'm going to wave my hands at a whole lot of stuff here. Okay? There's a whole lot of choices I have to make about where the log files go. How big does the database grow to be? Databases tend to grow. Where does it keep the log files? There's a lot of stuff that I might need to know about this. This is not really a class in database administration. But if we look at it here, we have the name. How big can it get? Unlimited, by the way. The database name. Let's adopt this convention for the database name. I'm going to put my name, SWSMITH, and then I'm going to say underscore DB. That's the name of my database. That'll be where I go normally. Now, there's nothing special about my name. I could have named that database Teetotally Humswoggle, and it would have worked just fine. Of course, I can't have any spaces in it. But, and that's really about all I have to do. There's a bunch of other options here. You may look through them. Basically, I'm going to give it a name. The owner is default. Who do you think the owner will be? Me. I created it. Now, in order to create it, I have to have the DB creator role in the database. That's why I gave myself that. Now I'm allowed, not just anybody gets to jump in and create a database. You have to give them that role. And we're going to see there's lots of rights and privileges you can have. This is a completely different animal from Access. Access, once you sit down at the computer, you own everything. Here, it isn't so. So I'm just going to say, okay. And now, look up there. Under databases, I see that my database, my own special little database. One more thing I need to do. One more thing. I'm going to fold this guy down because I like seeing which one I'm working on. And I'm going to expand the administrative one. Remember this one? This is the one I came in with initially. This is the database administrator. This is the owner of the database engine under Windows. We're not going to be using him very much unless we forget our password. Then we can use him. Okay, I'm going to go back to security, back to logins, and I'm interested in the S.W. Smith login, not the Colin S.W. Smith, the S.W. Smith who lives here, and I'm going to go to his properties. What do you think I'm going to do? Remember, I can't write to the master database as S.W. Smith. Only the administrator gets to write there. S.W. Smith had better not be getting into that. Therein be dragons. What do you think I'm going to do? Right, this is S.W. Smith I'm looking at right here. And I'm going to go to the default database for S.W. Smith. And what do you think it's going to be? S.W. Smith DB. Oh, okay. Now I can say, okay. I am now done with that administrative user. So we have a user. The user is your domain login. Now, the important point here, if you sit down at a different machine, you will not have you will be a different user when you come in. Okay? So, you will not be able to log in from Windows if you're a different user, because the Windows user that installed this, I think there's a way to get in, but by and large, this guy exists only on this server. So if you're doing it on your laptop, this is how you will log into your laptop. You will log in with Windows authentication and with your username password. I'm pretty well done with this guy, this Windows user. I can just hit this unplug, or I can right click and say disconnect. That's fine. I'm now connected as S.W. Smith. So now I'm going to go ahead, right click. Yeah, right click and say disconnect. Yes. And now you're connected as your user. Now I'm going to practice. I'm going to go through one practice round here, one troubleshooting round, because I'm going to connect. I am a sysadmin. A sysadmin has the right to stop the database. That's why I gave myself sysadmin, system administrator. I'm going to stop the database. Am I sure? This is pretty drastic. If you stop a database, What happens to all your remote users? If you worked for Amazon and you stopped the database, that would be called a resume generating moment. Know what I mean? Okay, if I use something and you don't, that means that you'll probably be fired. Okay, I've stopped the database, and I'm going to close my window, and I'm ready to go off and see the world. Okay, and let's see, what time is it? It's 11:40. Now I'm going to take you through one time. Let's start. Let's do the startup. Remember, my database is shut down. I have switched to, I'm at home on my own computer. I have switched the startup mode to manual. Means it's not going to start until I go start it. This one I could reboot and it would start. But if this one's at home, it's not going to work. So what am I going to do? Take me through it. What? Which one? Windows. Windows Administrative Tools. Services. Scroll down to SQL Server. Find the one that has your server name. It's SQL Server, and then it will have your server name. You might have more than one in there. It's possible. Right-click, Start. It usually starts pretty quickly. You now close this. Go to, if you have a shortcut, fine. If you should have a shortcut. So open your Management Studio. I have put, it will come up in the last user you had. I said, remember my password. You may. We're not going to have anything really secret here. I'm going to check that I'm logging into the correct server, SQL Express. I have Windows SQL Server Authentication. My login name, I click Connect. And now I'm ready to program. Questions? You cannot start it from the Management Studio if you have turned it off the Management Studio. I don't think, let me stop him. I can stop him. I can restart him from here. But once I do what we call bounce the Management Studio, in other words, turn it off and bring it back down, I cannot connect. I will, if I try to connect, let me show you what happens if I try to connect and the service is not running. I sit here for a while, and I sit here a little while longer, and eventually I will get, for my reading pleasure, an error message that says I can't find a server. So I will never get the ability to come over here and say start. Just go on into don't even try to connect. If you know it is stopped, if you stopped it, it's stopped. So there's nothing I can do here. I can never get to it. Now in the server 2012, there you could start stop was something up at the top, and it gave you that option before. But here in this version, you have to go into the services to start it. If you have done what I call bounced the Management Studio, shut it down and brought it back up, you can no longer get to that option. So instead of that, I'm going to go straight to services. Excuse me. Yeah, you're free to make a shortcut to services. I know you can make a shortcut to services. So you can make this a shortcut, and then you'll just have to scroll down to SQL. I think if you double click it, start, that's one other option. Questions? Now I'll be able to connect to it. Question? Okay, just a moment. And I'm now going to move into troubleshooting mode. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to end the recording. I'm going to let it go. Some people are having issues, and that's expected. So I'm going to dismiss for today, meaning that you don't have to hang around any longer. Just hang on just a minute. I'm trying to turn this recording off. Any observations, questions, anything you think anything that you don't understand? Go ahead. That you're getting a little. You can put your laptop on one. You can put your management studio on one, and your database engine on another. In fact, that's how it usually works. But you'll have to be on the same TCP/IP network. So in other words, you'll both have to be connected to the same network. I'll have to be able to ping your IP address and see it back and forth. So if you know how to do that, look it up. Google is your friend. I probably won't get there till the end of the semester. But, okay, I'm going to shut down the recording and stop the share. End the meeting.